Let's go live to Canberra now. Our political editor Andrew Clennell joins us. We are limping towards the end of the week. Not you and I, of course, but it's the last sitting week of the year. Energy is not going to go away. This is going to dominate this term. And I tell you what, I've got to say, it's a mess for the government, but it's really a mess for the coalition at the moment too.
I don't know. I think it's more a mess for the government. And this is in relation to these stories, a story I ran with you last week. So let's play it again in a sense. So there's a graphic here. Energy company CEOs, let's get them up on screen, talking to this report. I revealed it with you last week, Laura. One of them says, Australian Energy Council report, the general public haven't really cottoned on to the fact there's a cost to the transition and power bills will go up for a while. Governments have made promises about bill reduction, but it's not coming anytime soon. And here's another CEO. My feel is that, you recall talking to me about this last Wednesday, is that bills will increase for at least the next decade. So what do they do about the rebates? Maybe you need them on all the time, but then, as Susan Lee just said to you, that's borrowed money they're spending on our power bills. That is a mess. And they told us they were doing this. They came up with this policy, rewiring the nation. And then they lied to us. They said they were going to reduce our power bills by $275. This is one of the biggest electoral lies in recent times. And we know there have been a few over the years. They said they were going to reduce our bills by this year by $275. And they said it time and time and over again. Albanese and Chalmers. At the same time, they were basically telling us they were going to increase our bills. And perhaps some of us journalists should have seen it. They were saying we're doing this rewiring the nation, we're doing all these new poles and wires, and it's backed by private sector investment. Well, guess what? Who pays for private sector investment except through your power bill? So the whole rewiring the nation was always going to cost us money. And that brings me to this exchange I had with the Climate Change Authority Chair, Matt Keane, former New South Wales Energy Minister, who enthusiastically embraced this poles and wires rollout, when he cannot say when power bills will stop increasing, not when they will go down, not when they will stabilise, when they will stop increasing. He says it's when the rollout's finished. Well, it's going to be at least 2030 before the rollout's finished. Have a listen to this. Could prices continue to increase for 10 years? Before that transition is completed?
Well, that's not what the Australian Energy Market Commission says. They say get on with the job of rolling out renewables, and quite frankly, we should be listening to the independent experts.
When do they stop going up?
When we get on
prices?
with the job. When we get on with the job of rolling out renewables at scale. We know it's the cheapest form of electricity, and the problem
how many years does that take?
In the grid, it's not enough, Andrew.
How many years does that take?
The job, Andrew. Well, it will take the coordinated rollout.
So the government has no answers. He's the main official on Climate Change Authority for the government under Chris Bowen. They have no answers on when power bills are going to stop increasing. Sorry, I keep getting this wrong. Not when they go down, which they promised. When they stop increasing. Think about that. Think about how expensive your power bill is now if you're a household or a business. We're all paying for this rollout. Now, you could say it's fair enough, we need to do this, there are ageing coal assets. But what you can't say, while we're paying the network costs on our bills, and what they keep saying, is it's the cheapest form of energy, because right now it isn't. It isn't. And even if you spend the capital in terms of solar or battery, you've got to dish out 20 grand.
Yep.
That's going to take you 10 years to get back on your bills. So here's Susan Lee with you. Now, you went with her 3 times with the rebate. She kept saying to you with respect, which in Yes Minister parlance, by the way, means without respect. But anyway, she says with the rebates is borrowed money, and she's actually got a point. However, the government, their hands are tied a bit. If they dish out the rebates, they worsen their budget position, and you can see they're looking for savings. That story broke yesterday. No wonder, with the NDIS and these sort of things, and Medicare promises. All their promises they got to pay for with public service cuts they said Peter Dutton was going to do. But Susan Lee here is basically making the point that the energy rebates are borrowed money, and it's true.
The government has spent over $5 billion on energy subsidies so far. No one has a clue what they may or may not do with them going forward. What we do know is that spending more money, borrowing more money, appearing to be generous with borrowed money is not answering the real challenges in the energy grid.
She's bang on about borrowed money, but the fact that she couldn't say what she would do, I mean, she gives the government plenty of free advice on other things, and I think the fact is the subsidies can have to continue for quite some time. There's still a cost of living crisis, and this is what households feel the most. But Andrew, I want to put to you as well why I think this is as much as a problem for the coalition as well. Yes, renewables are not the cheapest form of energy, which we keep on being shoved down our neck by the Labor government. They will eventually be, but they're not right now because of the rollout. But I put to Susan Lee as well, are you going to slow down the rollout of renewables as part of your plan? Well, no, they're not. They're going to still have to spend a lot of this money on the transmission lines that Labor talks about. Plus, on top of that, they're talking about nuclear that won't come online, let's be honest, for maybe 10 to 15 years. So they have a problem as well when it comes to bringing down costs. I mean, their plans just don't make sense. Yallourn, Eraring, at the moment they're due to close in 27, 28. Let's say they can be extended by another couple of years. What then fills that gap? Gas, maybe. It's not going to be nuclear there, but in the end, I think what we need to face is that the renewable rollout, it has started. This is not ideal, but it's going to have to stay this way. Otherwise, we're going to have huge problems. The problems are, I mean, all the politicians are talking about the wrong thing. They're talking about, prices v emissions, blah, 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 blah. We need as much energy as we can possibly get because a new problem has come online in just the last couple of years.
That's a Liberal policy. Yeah, no, that's a Liberal policy.
Yeah, but with
energy
what?
abundance.
But with they're saying, no, but they're saying energy abundance.
Coal-fired power.
Yeah, but what they're not saying in all of that, but coal-fired power, it can't be extended. Already you have the owners of Yallourn this week talking about the need to turn that into renewable. Callide did, absolutely. But coal is kind of not the long-term answer. What the coalition don't want to tell you is that we need renewables as well. We need them to roll out as quickly as possible, as well as all those other things.
Well, but maybe you don't need them to roll out as quickly as possible because you can spread the network cost a bit more if you do it a little slower, and that's their point. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's not an election for 2.5 years. This is the government's problem.
It's not an election for 2.5 years.
But Laura, if we keep talking about what the opposition are doing, we are letting the government off the hook.
Oh, no, absolutely.
It is the government's issue.
I agree with that.
They promised us one of the biggest lies in recent years, $2.75 off your power bill. They should have just said, we have to do this rollout. Yeah. Your power bills aren't going to go down.
It was never believable.
And they've never, ever really apologised for it. Never. No. And they've never really, and even to this day, they get up on question time after question time, Chris Bowen and Jim Chalmers, and say, this is the cheapest form of energy. Well, not now it isn't.
No.
How about a bit of honesty?
I agree.
So I'm not going to direct my attention to the opposition on this because they're pretty irrelevant at the moment, let's face it. I'm going to focus my attention on the government and what they're doing.
Oh, sure.
And they don't appear to be doing enough.
Yeah, but Andrew, the reason that we need to focus on the coalition as well is that no one's got a better alternative, and their alternative doesn't seem better at the moment. So therefore, the government is getting away with this dodgy rollout, or at least, this misinformation given to us that renewables are the cheapest form of energy. They might be in the future, but they're certainly not right now, especially when you include the capital costs. And this is, I guess, where you and I agree that the coalition might have some in. That's not what they're saying.
Yeah, look, the opposition, OK, they abandoned net zero. That's not going to go well in many city seats. But other than that, I think they have a bit of a point. And I really think the focus should be on the government. The more the focus is on the opposition here, the worse the government's going to do, because the less they're held to account. And it's helped many governments get re-elected time after time, a weak opposition who captures all that kind of media attention with their division. Well, this is a really kind of intractable problem for the government now. If they do the rebates, they cost the budget. If they don't do the rebates, they cost themselves politically.
Yeah.
That's why it's such an interesting couple of ERCs before that MyEFO statement for Jim Chalmers and Anthony Albanese. And I don't think they have worked out what they're going to do yet.
Yeah, really interesting. We'll see MyEFO as well. I just quickly want to talk about Barnaby, at risk of talking about the opposition too much. Is he going to go? He's going to go, isn't he? He's just playing us all.
Well, I think this is worth talking about because it's a pretty big development, a former Deputy Prime Minister going to One Nation. I do think he's going to go. I absolutely think he's going to go. And, you know, this was a sign of it the other day. I mean, he says, you know, I don't want to make it about myself, but he does radio interviews. He should come on your show, Laura. He likes coming on your show. I'd encourage Barnaby to come on tomorrow and make the announcement.
I think it's a love-hate.
Is it? Anyway.
Seems it.
Well, I asked him on and he said, I agree with you and Peter. I shouldn't talk about myself all the time. Peter Credlin, that is. So anyway, he must have seen one of those crosses. This is what Ross Cadell did. This is a good signal. Ross Cadell's really plugged in. He came up with the energy policy, or with Matt Canavan, I guess, for the Nationals. He's a close confidant of David Littleproud. He's a former New South Wales National State Director. He's a frontbencher. And, you know, he's just really plugged into the National Party organisation and what's going on. So he was just refreshingly honest on Politics Now yesterday and said Barnaby's going and went even further and said, yes, this will hurt us politically that Barnaby's going.
Everything on the face of it looks like he's about to join One Nation. I hope he doesn't. I think there's still a small chance, but if I was a betting man, you've got to say that he'll be wearing orange come next campaign.
Would he be a political threat if he was a One Nation leader or senator?
Absolutely. I mean, let's not pretend he's not. He's a guy, he's been Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, he's been a great retail politician.
So he could cost you votes, is what you're saying to me?
Yeah, he can.
So I think he'll defect. My other prediction is it won't end well. Didn't end well for Mark Latham in association with One Nation. Kind of tarnishes your legacy when you've been Deputy Prime Minister twice. Barnaby texted me when I said that last night and corrected me and said 3 times because of the Section 44 thing. He was Deputy Prime Minister 3 times. And that's something really to be proud of. You know, despite all the controversies and scandals that he endured, you're never going to reach those heights again with One Nation. I don't believe anyway, unless he thinks he can do a Farage, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can lulled at this time of the election cycle, people forget how wrong the polls are. And I'd say this high watermark for One Nation will be wrong again when the election rolls around in 2028. Andrew, good to talk to you as always.
That was Ross Cadell's view.
Yeah. Well, I mean, history shows that as well. But Andrew, thank you. That open invitation for Barnaby to come on tomorrow or Friday. We'll set aside 5 minutes for him. Thank you.